Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Timeless Stories. It's so good to have you here. Let's take a breath together. Imagine for a moment you are standing in a quiet neighborhood in Argentina. The streets are narrow. The air smells of warm dust and grass. Somewhere nearby, children are laughing. A football rolls across the ground, and a small boy runs after it. He is not very tall. He is not very fast yet. But when that ball reaches his feet, something changes. The noise around him fades. His eyes focus. And for a brief moment, you can feel that this boy is completely, perfectly himself. Now here is a question that stays with me. What does it take for a small, quiet child? A child that doctors say may not grow normally, a child far from home, a child that many people say is too small, to become the most celebrated footballer in the history of the world. Today, we are going to walk together through the life of Lionel Messi. We are going to discover the medical challenge that almost stopped his dream before it began. We are going to feel the loneliness of a 13-year-old boy starting over in a foreign country. And we are going to understand why Messi's greatest victory was not only about football. So make yourself comfortable and let the story begin. Lionel Andres Messi was born on June 24, 1987, in the city of Rosario, in Argentina. Rosario is not the capital of Argentina. It is a city beside a wide, brown river called the Paraná. It is a working city, ordinary families, ordinary streets. But sometimes ordinary places produce extraordinary people. Messi's father, Jorge, worked long hours in a steel factory. His mother, Celia, cleaned houses to bring in extra money. They were not a wealthy family, but they were a warm one. Lionel grew up with two older brothers, Rodrigo and Matias, and a younger sister, Maria Sol. There was always noise in the house. There was always movement. And there was almost always a football somewhere nearby. From his very earliest years, Messi loved the ball more than any toy his parents could have bought him. He did not need expensive things. He needed only a small space and something round to kick. He played in the street. He played in the park. He played in every free moment he could find. But there was one person in his life who saw him differently from everyone else. Her name was Celia, his grandmother, who shared his mother's name. She watched Lionel play with a different kind of attention. Not just a grandmother watching her grandson, something more careful, more certain. She began to take him to training sessions at his local club, Grandoli. She spoke to coaches on his behalf. She told them, "This boy is different. Look more closely." Celia believed in Lionel before Lionel believed in himself. Her love was a quiet, steady light. And Messi would carry that light with him for the rest of his life, in ways the world would one day see very clearly. But the story was about to become harder, much harder. When Messi was around 10 or 11 years old, his parents noticed something concerning. He was not growing the way other boys his age were growing. He was shorter, thinner. His body was developing more slowly than expected. They took him to doctors. The doctors ran tests. And then came a diagnosis that changed everything. Lionel had a condition called growth hormone deficiency. This means that his body was not producing enough of a natural chemical, a hormone, that helps children grow taller and stronger. Without treatment, Messi would remain very small, small enough that his future in professional football would be seriously at risk. The treatment existed. It involved daily injections. Every single day, Lionel had to receive a needle, a small injection in his leg, to give his body the hormone it could not produce on its own. For a child, this was not easy. Day after day, needle after needle, the treatment was painful and frightening and constant. But there was another problem. The medicine was expensive, very expensive. More than Jorge's factory wages could cover. The family tried everything. They asked the football clubs in Argentina that Messi trained with if they could help. One club offered some assistance, then stopped. Another club said they would help, then changed their mind. There were months when the family did not know how they would continue the treatment. Months when the dream felt fragile and uncertain, like a candle in the wind. This is the part of Messi's story that is not always told. Before the trophies, before the records, before the world knew his name, there was a boy lying still while a needle entered his leg, wondering if the pain was worth it. His parents never let him stop believing, and neither did the memory of his grandmother's voice telling him he was different. So what happened when Messi stepped back onto the field, small and quiet, in a world that expected its heroes to be large and loud? Children can be unkind about differences. And Lionel Messi was different. He was visibly smaller than the boys around him. His body was slight, almost delicate. When coaches looked at him, some saw only his size. They did not stay long enough to see his feet. Some coaches turned him away. Some children made fun of his size. Some tried to push him around. Physical players assumed they could overwhelm him. They would learn quickly that this was not true. But still, the words and the looks had an effect. They always do. There is something important to understand about Messi during this time. He did not respond to doubt with anger. He did not shout back. He did not try to prove himself with words. He responded the only way that felt natural to him. He returned to the field. He touched the ball again. When someone doubted him, Messi dribbled. A fast touch to the right. A sudden change of direction. A burst of movement so quick and smooth that the defender was left behind before he even understood what had happened. Messi found his answers in motion, not in argument. He joined the youth academy of Newell's Old Boys, one of the famous clubs of Rosario. And there, small as he was, he became extraordinary. His team won many matches. Messi scored goals that people still talk about in Argentina today. He was not just good for his size, he was good. Full stop. And yet, even as his talent grew clearer, the medical bills kept coming. The treatment continued. The family kept searching for a stable solution. The dream was still alive, but it needed a miracle. And then, when Messi was around 12 or 13 years old, a miracle arrived. Football scouts travel the world looking for rare talent. Their job is to watch thousands of young players and identify the few who might become something special. Most children they watch will never become professionals. The scout's eye must be precise. In the year 2000, a scout representing FC Barcelona one of the most famous and powerful football clubs in the world, came to Argentina. He watched a young boy play. The boy was small, smaller than you might expect. But his movements was unlike anything the scout had seen in a long time. The boy moved with what can only be described as natural intelligence. He did not run faster than others. He seemed to read the game differently. He knew where the space would open before it opened. He changed direction without losing speed. He controlled the ball as if it were attached to him by an invisible thread. The scout made his recommendation. Barcelona were interested. What followed were difficult conversations and difficult negotiations. Barcelona's offer was extraordinary. If Lionel Messi came to Spain, the club would cover the cost of his medical treatment. They would pay for the growth hormone injections. They would give this small boy from Rosario the medical support his family had struggled to provide. But there was a price. The price was distance. To follow his dream, Messi would have to leave Argentina. He would have to leave the streets of Rosario, the voice of his grandmother, the sound of his family at home. He would travel to a country whose language he knew, but whose streets he did not. He would be a child, alone, in one of the most demanding football environments in Europe. His father, Jorge, decided to travel with him. His mother, brothers, and sister would stay in Argentina. At first, the separation was painful. But the family agreed. This was the door they had been hoping for. In late 2000, Lionel Messi arrived in Barcelona, Spain. He was 13 years old, and he had no idea how lonely the next few years would be. If you enjoy stories like this, stories of quiet courage and great lives, please consider subscribing to Timeless Stories. New stories arrive every week, and there is always a seat here for you. La Masia. In the Catalan language of Barcelona, those words mean simply the farmhouse. It was the name of Barcelona's famous youth academy. The place where the club raised its young players, taught them its style of football, and prepared them for the professional game. Some of the greatest players in football history passed through La Masia. Messi arrived there as a very small, very quiet 13-year-old from Argentina. He spoke Spanish, which helped. But Spanish in Barcelona is not the only language. People also speak Catalan, the local language of the region. The food was different. The sounds were different. The rhythm of daily life was unfamiliar. And at night, Messi missed home deeply. He was shy by nature. He did not make friends easily at first. He did not push himself forward socially. Some of the other boys were larger, louder, more comfortable in their skin. They had family nearby. They had roots in this city. Messi had a telephone call to Argentina and the memory of familiar streets. But on the field, he began to speak a language everyone understood. Slowly, his talent became impossible to ignore. In training sessions, he did things that made coaches stop and watch. A turn in a tight space. A dribble through multiple defenders. A pass placed with surgical accuracy. The other boys at La Masia were talented. They would not have been there otherwise, but Messi moved differently. He moved as though he had already seen the game before it happened. By the time he was 16, he was training occasionally with Barcelona's senior team. These were grown men, experienced professionals. And yet, When Messi received the ball among them, the quality of what he did was not diminished by his age or his size. It was simply there, present, real. His coaches at La Masia said something that stayed with many people. They said, Messi did not just have football intelligence, he had football wisdom. And wisdom is not something you can teach. It is something rare that a person is born carrying, like a quiet flame inside them. But wisdom alone does not win trophies. The road ahead would require Messi to walk through both glory and heartbreak, and it was with the blue and white shirt of Argentina that his deepest lessons were waiting. As Messi became one of the best players in the world at Barcelona, something strange and painful was happening in his relationship with the national team of Argentina. He won everything with Barcelona. He won the league. He won the Champions League, the highest prize in European club football. He won the Ballon d'Or, the award for the best player in the world, not once, but multiple times. By his early 20s, many people were already saying that Lionel Messi was the greatest footballer ever to live. But with Argentina, the story was different. Argentina reached the final of the World Cup in 2014. They lost. They reached the final of the Copa America, the South American Championship, in 2015. They lost. They reached the Copa America final again in 2016. They lost again. Each time, Messi carried the weight. He played. He tried. He gave everything. But the results did not come. Some people in Argentina began to criticize him. They said unkind things. They compared him to other Argentine legends and suggested that Messi had no soul for the national shirt. They said he saved his best football for Barcelona. They said he did not love Argentina enough. These words were not fair, but they were loud. After the Copa America defeat in 2016, Messi did something that surprised everyone. He announced that he was leaving the Argentina national team. He stepped away. The pain was too heavy. The criticism had gone too deep. For a time, Messi could not hold both the dream and the heartbreak at once. The silence that followed was strange. Football without Messi in an Argentina shirt felt incomplete, and perhaps Messi, in the quiet of that silence, began to understand what the shirt truly meant to him. He returned. He returned not because someone asked him to, or because a contract required it. He returned because he loved Argentina, because the blue and white was not just a color. It was Rosario. It was his grandmother's voice. It was every street and every dream from his childhood. And sometimes, the bravest thing a person can do is return to the thing that broke their heart. The World Cup of 2022 was held in Qatar. It would be Messi's 5th World Cup. Almost certainly his last. He was 35 years old. The world understood that this was his final opportunity to win the only major trophy that had escaped him. Argentina began the tournament with a shocking defeat against Saudi Arabia. People began to speak of failure already, of a final chance slipping away. But Messi did not panic. He did not make speeches. He simply continued to work. Match by match, Argentina recovered. They won their group. They won their knockout matches. They reached the semifinals, then the final. The final was against France. France had won the World Cup before. France had Kylian Mbappé, one of the fastest and most dangerous young footballers in the world. The match that followed was one of the most extraordinary in the history of the competition. Argentina led by 2 goals. France scored twice to equalize. Extra time. More goals, more tension, and then penalties. A penalty shootout in a World Cup final is one of the most nerve-shattering experiences in sport. You take turns, one player at a time, one kick, one chance. The goalkeeper waits, the world watches. Argentina won the penalty shootout. When the final whistle confirmed the result, something extraordinary happened on the field. Argentina's players did not run to the corner flag. They did not perform rehearsed celebrations. They ran to Messi. They surrounded him. They embraced him, grown men, some of them crying. Lifting and holding the quiet boy from Rosario, who had carried this dream for so many years. Messi fell to his knees. He pressed his forehead to the grass. And for a long moment, the greatest footballer in the world was simply a man giving thanks to the game he loved, to the country he served, and, perhaps, to a grandmother who believed in him long before the world ever did. When Messi lifts his eyes to the sky after scoring a goal, many people believe he is thinking of her, of Celia, the woman who took him to his first training sessions, the woman who told coaches, "Look more closely," the woman who believed before the results arrived. That is the secret at the heart of this story. Behind every great dream, there is often one person who believed first. And then, on June 22nd, 2026, another page was added to football history. Argentina faced Austrian national team in the World Cup. The night was full of pressure. Messi even missed an early penalty. For many players, that moment could break the heart. But Messi did what he had done so many times before. He stayed calm. Later he scored, and then he scored again. Argentina won 2-0. The team moved closer to the next round, but the night belonged to Messi. With those goals, he became the all-time leading goal scorer in men's World Cup history. It was not only a record, it was a quiet message. Even near the end of a long career, greatness can still find one more moment, one more touch, one more goal, one more memory for the world. The story of Messi teaches us something quiet and true. The beginning of a journey is almost never the beautiful part. The beginning is small, uncertain, full of doubt. Messi began as a child who was told his body was not sufficient for his dream. He was sent away. He was separated from his family. He failed on the biggest stages, more than once. But he never stopped walking toward what he loved. And that is exactly what you are doing right now. Every time you listen carefully, every time a new word finds its home inside your mind, every time you understand something you did not understand before, you are walking your own road. You are building something. It may not look large yet, but neither did a small boy in Rosario before the world knew his name. Keep going. The results will come. Tell me in the comments, who in your life believed in you before the results arrived? I would love to hear your story. If these stories bring something good to your English journey, subscribe to Timeless Stories and join us every week. Thank you for listening, my friend. I will see you in the next story.